You're listening to For the Record with Daniel Fontaine
and Paul Minhas,
where we provide you with a unique, thoughtful, and insightful perspective of the civic and urban issues impacting New Westminster and beyond.
For the Record puts it on the record when and where it counts.
Now, let's start that conversation. Hi, I'm City Councillor Daniel Fontaine.
And I'm City Councillor Paul Minhas.
Welcome to the second annual Top 10 Vodcast, Paul. We did one last year. We went to vodcast as opposed to podcast, and we created the top 10 list of the top stories in New Westminster. We're back at it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to today, actually, Daniel, and this is going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So here's the format. Here's how it's going to work. We're going to start out, Paul, with our honourable mentions, some stories that came so close to making it in the top 10, but we just thought they should be mentioned. So we'll just take a few minutes to mention those, Paul. And then that's it. We start with number 10 and we start the countdown and we name the story. We do a few little comments on it and we work our way all the way up to the top to the number one civic political story in the city of New Westminster for 2025.
You know, this year has gone by so fast, Daniel, but I'm definitely looking for 2026.
It's incredible. So why don't we start this, Paul, with our honorable mentions? And there were a few of them. So I'll start out with the first one, and it was the rail crossing upgrades. The funding was put into the capital plan, and there was some discussion this year about making sure that the money was there to finally stop the whistles in Sapperton.
Absolutely. It's been a long time coming. People in Sapperton have been waiting for this forever, and I'm so glad it's finally moving forward.
It is, and the residents of Sapperton, I know, are looking forward to this. So while we didn't put it in the top 10 because shovels haven't quite hit the ground, but it is a very worthy note. The second one is the artificial turf field, Riley Park, and that's another one that got an honorable mention because there's no shovels in the ground yet. But there is a technical report coming to council soon.
Absolutely, Daniel. And this is also something that we brought in our very first council meeting as a motion for Queensborough. And it's much, much needed in Queensborough for the people of Queensborough.
Absolutely. So Riley Park Turf Field, as Paul said, we've been championing this, advocating for this from day one.
Day one, yeah.
And while the money seems to be there, the technical report isn't there yet. So before we celebrate and put it in our top 10, might make it in for 2026.
That's right.
If we get it going.
Yes.
And the last honorable mention that we have, Paul, what is that one?
Vape store restrictions that were passed. And that was a very big one, Daniel.
Huge. So what happened this year was the NWP, Paul and I brought forward a motion asking that vape stores be restricted in the city of New Westminster, that a bylaw come in so that we stop the proliferation of vape stores throughout New Westminster. It generated a lot of media attention, a lot of media interest all throughout the year. And now the bylaw has been passed and we're moving forward on that. So that definitely worthy of an honorable mention.
Absolutely. I mean, this is in regards to a lot of young children that are also, have access to the vape stores and not very good for them.
Not good for them. There's a number of reasons why you want to put restrictions on it. So Paul, those are the three honorable mentions. We probably could have had a bunch of dishonorable mentions, but of course we didn't want to include those. But we wanted to definitely have a few honorable mentions. And I'm sure you guys have some of your own already, or you are probably wondering whether or not we've got it in the top 10. So that's a good segue to, Paul, let's cue the music and let's get started with number 10.
Absolutely.
Okay, Paul Minhas, number 10, you're going to get this thing started.
Yes, absolutely. This was in regards to 6th Avenue and 2nd Street safety upgrade. And I tell you, this was an overall community victory. There was so much going on with this. There was a petition with over 2,100 people that signed for it. And some of the parents were relentless, especially Adam and Lindsay Cottrell. They were working tirelessly on this, as well as Larry Church.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, three individuals who Larry has a long-standing history of advocating for the safety upgrades at the corner of 6th and 2nd, which is right across from Herbert Spencer Elementary. And he noted how many times he'd come to council, how many times he'd written submissions asking for safety upgrades. Paul and I obviously championed it at council. We encouraged people like Lindsay and Adam and others to get a petition going, get things going, get the community behind it. And it's number 10 for a reason, because it's definitely in the top 10 because it's a huge amount of people, probably the largest petition I think that was filled out this year. In fact, I think in the time since we've been on council, it's the largest one that I've seen. And it got some results. And looks like $1.2 million will be invested in that intersection, and it looks like some upgrades are actually going to happen.
Absolutely. This is for the right reasons. It should have been done, like you said, a long time ago. And people like Larry Church have been advocating this for, I believe, almost 7 years, Daniel. And it's high time that this came forward, and this is finally moving forward, and I'm very glad to see that.
Okay, that was number 10. That was 6th Avenue and 2nd Street safety upgrades. Time for us to go to number 9.
Daniel, I'm going to ask you to do number 9.
I'd love to do number 9. Number 9, according to all of our pollsters and all the other research that we've done, number 9 is the Woodwards Building a Victory. Now, if you don't remember this story, it happened in the latter part of the year. CTV News actually broke the story that the residents at the Woodward Building, that's near 6th and 6th, woke up one day and found out, Paul, they were losing their sidewalk. It was all being ripped up. They were losing their loading zone, et cetera, et cetera. And boy, did the residents, led by Liz Faber, she's I think the Strata president or involved in the Strata there, she just mobilized that entire building, and they invited me to come down, and they said, we're not going to take this lying down. We want to get our loading zone back, and we're going to advocate to City Hall. And great to report that the loading zone is there in the new design.
Yeah, Daniel, this was Liz, just big champion there with the building. A lot of seniors, people with mobility issues that live in this building, and not having a loading zone in front of their building, especially on a very, very busy corner between 6th Avenue and 6th Street, right by the mall, was going to be extremely, extremely difficult for a lot of these people. So, when the street is ripped up and the sidewalks are gone and the loading zone is gone, I'm glad that Liz did such a fabulous job, along with all the help, all the volunteers from Woodward's Building, that made this happen, actually.
100%. And they all came in their red and white, if you remember, Paul. They all had their dress on, and they were dressing, as I said, truly patriotic in Canadian colors, red and white. And they came in and they made a difference. And they got not 100% of everything that they were asking for, but they got a fair large amount of what they were asking for, in terms of at least the loading zone is back and the bus stop was moved just ever so slightly to the south of the construction area. So it seemed like it was a bit of a win-win. So kudos to Liz Faber and the entire group of residents who were very active in that building.
Absolutely. Congratulations to them.
And now, time, Paul, to move to number 8.
Yes, Daniel, this is in regards to Queensborough still not being recognized properly, or very, very underserved. And for a very, very long time, the focus or the things that need to be done in Queensborough have been shunned away, I should say. They haven't been addressed. And a lot of those problems are now coming to the surface. With everything that's going on with the growth in Queensborough, they deserve much better. When you don't have sidewalks in certain parts of the city of Queensborough, or a proper playing field like the one we were promoting in regards to Ryle Park, there's a lot of things that the people of Queensborough need to get.
Definitely worth putting in the top 10. I will add just a couple of other items for the residents of Queensborough that made some news in 2025. Paul, it must have been the year of the petition, because there was another petition in Queensborough, this time to protect and to secure funding for the school bus from Queensborough over to New West Secondary. MLA Steve Cooner, Conservative MLA Steve Cooner, took that petition. I believe it had just a little over 2,000, I think it was, signatures, if I remember correctly. And it was a significant number of signatures. And he took that petition, brought it to the legislature, read it into the record, and they are continuing, Paul, to lobby for funding, which was promised to them by the provincial government for that school bus pilot, that it was going to continue on and that they weren't going to have to have that funding go away. And as you indicated, I know there's been also concerns around the amount of taxation that people of Queensborough send to City Hall and what they're getting back by way of services. So I think it's totally worthy to put this as number 8. Queensborough being underserved and for them to have a lack of infrastructure and a lack of services, Paul, 100%. I think it's definitely worth being put on the list.
For too long, they have been ignored, by the city, and I think it's high time that they get looked after. Like you said, the amount of taxes that are coming from Queensborough, and not to even have sidewalks or just simple things, that is a shame, and we need to do much better for Queensborough.
100%. So let's hope that at some point, Paul, my Christmas wish would be that we don't have Queensborough on the list and that it is fully serviced. Absolutely. And that we don't have to have them noted in the top 10 for the issues of underserving. So what's the next one, Paul? Let's go to number 7.
Do you want to start number 7, Daniel? This is a very, very crucial part of the whole top 10.
And number 7 is the police budget and mental health calls as well. We've kind of thrown in a downloading report. There's actually a few things in here, but they're all under kind of the issue of the fact that the provincial government has downloaded a lot of costs to the cities. And a big chunk of those costs are in the area of policing. I believe, if I remember correctly, according to the statistics, I think over 50% of the calls that are called into the police are mental health or social services related, which are both provincial files. They're both provincial issues. And yet 100% of the police are paid for by municipal taxes. So we've thrown that in, but we had to put in the fact that we waited almost 2 years for a report to come back to council, a downloading report where we would quantify how much was being downloaded by the federal government and the provincial government. We were excited about the fact that finally staff had come in and recommended that we move forward on that. And unfortunately, that got voted down by Community First. No interest in undertaking a downloading report. So we're going to be no further ahead in terms of knowing exactly how much is being downloaded from the province to the city of New West.
Absolutely. And this is a very crucial part of what you're saying, Daniel. So much failure from the higher government not to address this issue and the downloading part of it, which makes it very, very challenging for the police that at the present, I think New West police are short-staffed. And they have to attend so many of these, like you said, over 50% of the calls are for mental health or other services like that. And this makes it very, very challenging for the police.
100%. So that's why it came in at number 7 on our list. We felt it was so important, and given the size and scope and scale of the police budget in the context of all other departments in the city, as well as the fact that, city taxpayers are tapped out and they are looking at the costs related to policing, which is going up, by the way, Paul, another 10% this year.
That's right.
And again, a big chunk of that pertains to provincial files like mental health.
Absolutely. Again, like you said, another extra 10%. These things all add up in the overall, the amount of taxes that the people, the residents, and the business community of New West pay. So it does matter in the longer run.
So, Paul, I think it's now time for us to move to number 6. Consultants explosion.
Yes, Daniel, this is something, you had mentioned something about managers managing managers that manage consultants.
Yes.
And I will let you get started from there.
Oh, okay. Well, you really laid it out for me. You laid it out. So managers managing managers.
Well, I thought it was a great line. So I think, yes, I mean, this is just absolutely, it's baffling to me, the amount of money that we are spending from the city. And again, guess what? It ends up where the residents are paying in taxes.
Well, speaking of money, according to the discussion we had and the reports that came in, I think it was between $7.5 to $8.5 million worth of consultants that we could find. There's probably more, but that was the ones we could track. In some of the planning reports we saw, there were in one of them there was over 40 references to something called studies, strategies, and planning. And then the first 3 years of the planning process, planning cycle, was less about building and more about studies, planning, consultants, and the list goes on. And yet people within the community of New Westminster are saying, where are my new parks? Where's the new playgrounds? Where are the new turf fields? Where are the new community centers? They're asking for these desperately needed items, and they're just going to get 3 more years, looks like, of a lot of studies.
You know, this is such an important topic. Like you said, what the people are saying, what are we getting for our taxes? They don't mind paying the higher taxes, but what are they getting in return? And like you said, shortage of high school, shortage of parks, shortage of libraries. There's so many things, infrastructure. And yes, you're absolutely right. The fact that the last 3 years, we went through so many studies after studies, strategies, and yet we're not building and moving forward.
That's what we hear from residents. And in many ways, when you look at the report and you look at how many studies and the amount of money we're spending on consultants, that's in many respects what it looks like for the next few years anyhow. So consultants, we call it the consultant explosion. And that was number 6.
Yes, absolutely.
On our countdown, Paul. So let's move on to number 5.
Daniel, would you like to start on number 5?
I would love to start on number 5. And we're halfway through the top 10 now, Paul. We're at number 5. And number 5 is the London Street Bike Lane. Ever heard of the London Street Bike Lane? Well, similar to the folks at Woodward's and similar to the folks at 6th Avenue and 2nd Street and a number of other community neighborhoods that banded together, came to City Hall. This group sure came to City Hall. They were all dressed, I think, in white this time. They were all in white. And they were vocal, and they came out, and they had their statistics, they had their research, they had their speaking notes, and they wanted their parking spaces back. They wanted to have questions answered as to why the London Street Bike Lane in the first place, how is this improving safety, et cetera, et cetera. And while, Paul, they didn't get quite everything they wanted, they moved the needle because the total number of cars, parking spots that were going to be reduced was significantly cut back. So there wasn't much of a loss in parking spaces, but there was a loss.
Yes, definitely. I mean, we're talking about over $2 million that were spent there for the bike lanes. I believe they lost close to about 50 parking spaces. But it's very true what you're saying, Daniel. The fact that when the residents of New Westminster are not being heard, they don't have a chance to speak out and talk about the issues that they're having. Time and time again, there has been different petitions throughout the city, literally from Queensborough, West End, we're talking about Queen's Park, even downtown, for Columbia Square. There's been petitions one after another. And this makes a very crucial thing that people should know, that people are getting together and wanting to make sure that the voices are being heard.
Absolutely. And we've seen success after success when residents get together, they band together, they come to council, they speak out, they set up petitions, they delegate. They don't always get everything, but now it's, as I've said many times in council, it's unfortunate that our citizens have to go to the lengths that they have to go to get the elected officials to change their position or to rethink a policy. Hopefully one day soon. We don't see that. That's not the culture of City Hall. We have a culture that the decisions that are being made at City Hall are actually reflecting the neighborhood priorities, as opposed to reflecting the priorities of majority of people on council, which are imposing their priorities into neighborhoods. I hope that will change very soon.
Yeah, just on that topic, Daniel, just to let everybody out there know, even ourselves, our platform is going to be built and based on a thing called Council Matters. And both yourself and myself and the NWP, we are doing that throughout each neighborhood in US. And so far we have done already 2, and we'll be doing 12 Council
City Matters.
City Matters, sorry,
Yeah.
City Matters.
Yeah.
And it's basically to hear the people and build a platform based on listening to the people.
Number 4 is an interesting one, Paul, because I know you are a big fan of soccer.
I am a very big fan of
And I had
soccer.
a feeling this particular item would come up in the, I didn't know if it would make a number 4, but it would come up in the top 10. But why don't you unveil number 4?
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of soccer. Everybody knows that. But I think when things like this, like the FIFA parties, come up at City Hall, I have to look within myself first. What is important to the city? As a city council member, my first and foremost job is to make sure that we address the things the right way. And in this case, spending, it started at $320,000 for FIFA parties, viewing parties.
Yeah.
And to me, it did not make sense at all whatsoever, Daniel. And
But they cut it down to 200,000.
yes, even that is
It's a reduced price.
Yeah, but it's no small amount, Daniel. And especially this day and age, when people are struggling, when the residents are struggling. Like I said, I love soccer, I love FIFA.
You are a huge soccer fan. Yeah.
At the same token, I have to make a decision that is the right decision for the residents of New Westminster.
You are a big soccer fan. Nobody will ever doubt that. And I said multiple times the irony of us proposing or talking about spending $300,000 plus on FIFA parties, while at the same time amateur sport organizations in the city were being sent a bill to pay for new charges for locking up storage lockers for their equipment. And so that did not go over well. And again, kudos to the amateur sports teams. A few of them wrote into City Hall, wrote to Paul and I, and those storage locker fees, thankfully, Paul, have been put on pause. And there's a bit of consultation now going on with the sports teams. But definitely the FIFA parties and activation, definitely worthy of a top 5 story. And I think number 4 is a great placement for it.
Yes, absolutely. The other thing is also, Daniel, both ourselves, we had promoted Canucks on Columbia before. And even that, we kind of scaled back because knowing fully well that if we are not in a position to do it, let's not do that. We can do it some other time.
Yeah, we would love to have more activations, but we've got to get our fiscal house in order. We've got to get control of property taxes and costs. And I have a feeling, Paul, we might be talking about that as we get closer to number 1. So I don't want to spoil the big surprise for you. But that was number 4, the FIFA parties. And now, Paul, we're going to jump to number 3.
Yes, Daniel, would you like to explain to the people? This is a very big topic. Very close to your heart. You have been working on this topic for almost 3 years, I would say, maybe 2.5 years or something like that. But it's a very, very important topic that also affects the people of New Westminster.
Yeah, both Paul and I felt very passionate about the fact that we had to include one Metro story in the top 10, and we're giving it the number 3 spot. That is the Metro Management Meltdown, is what I'm referring to it. Late in the year, the CFO was terminated, the deputy CAO has gone on leave, and the CAO is facing a vote from the board as to whether or not they're going to be put on suspension and put under an internal investigation. It all melted down so poorly at the end of the year. But we look back, Paul, just Metro Vancouver itself is a top 5 story. It's just been one hot mess after another. It is now what can only be described as a dumpster fire. And we're waiting for the Premier to step in and to finally put the dumpster fire out. And Paul, I don't see the Premier running in with a fire extinguisher.
Yes, in the past, the Premier has said on multiple occasions
ICBC
that he's going to step in.
Nobody, I was just going to say ICBC. He said it was a dumpster fire. Remember when he
That's right.
took office? But yes,
That's right.
he has said multiple times he was going to come
times,
in.
and yet he hasn't stepped in.
Mhm.
I mean, when is the premier going to come forward, say it's a mess, and try to do something about it and put the fire out, like you said?
I used to have hope earlier in the year that he might actually do that. He might step in and do something, Paul. I've completely lost faith and lost hope that the provincial government is going to do anything. I think we're going to go into the next civic election in October 2026 with status quo. I don't see any provincial intervention at all on Metro Vancouver. I mean, I don't know what more needs to happen. Does the building need to, sink into the Metro town? I mean, I don't know what else, what other catastrophe could happen, short of their senior leadership team completely melting down late in the year. I don't know what else.
One disaster after another, one after
PR
another.
mess after another.
That's right. I mean, how much more is it going to take when you don't have the top management that's lined up? Who controls the whole Metro Vancouver system here? Metro, this is very, very important. And the premier needs to come forward, put this fire out.
This dumpster fire had more fuel as we go every month. There's more fuel added to that dumpster fire. And I don't think, Paul, 2026 is going to look any brighter for Metro Vancouver. And if anything, they might throw the old used Christmas trees into the dumpster fire and it might get a little bit hotter before
I was just about to say that.
January is over. So we'll have to see where that goes. But that was number 3. So we're very, very quickly, Paul, getting to those top 2. And it was a toss-up. But why don't we now move on to number 2? And Paul, why don't you introduce that for us?
Yes, absolutely. Daniel, this is in regards to the utility rates that are going up by 61%. And it's just unbelievable that we had an opportunity.
That's up to 61% over 5 years for some of the utilities. Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
We had the opportunity to bring this down, according to the staff, and yet we did not do that.
And you and I voted against it every single way through the process of it kind of becoming effectively a bylaw and being implemented. But the last time you and I checked, most people's wages over the next 5 years are forecast to go up 61%.
Yes.
So we thought this was actually significant enough that it could have warranted almost being in the top story, but it got beat out by another story, which you'll hear about in a moment. But the people keep telling us, Paul, time and time again, because they cannot defer, unlike their property taxes, they cannot defer their utility charges. Those are definitely have to be paid every single year. And in particular for seniors and people who are on fixed incomes, who are struggling, who are looking at their Canada pension checks, their old age security checks, their limited perhaps work pensions, they are not going up 61% over the next 5 years. They might be getting a nickel or a dime a month more or 10 cents a week. And that simply is not keeping up with the inflationary nature of the utility fees that we're putting in. So incredible.
Absolutely. And on top of that, they also have to pay the 3.5 climate levy charge as well.
Yes, that's right. Very
utilities,
very unique in New Westminster that if you're watching this and you live in the city of New Westminster, you have the, and I'll put in air quotes, privilege of paying the extra 3.5% climate action tax on your utilities for green energy, which is kind of ironic, isn't it? You're getting a climate tax on your green electricity charges. So we'll leave it at that. But
yes, you're absolutely right. I mean, you got the high rents. You got homeowners that are paying such big mortgages, like you said earlier. They're not getting 61% increase. They're not getting money just falling from the sky, Daniel.
No.
Especially this day and age, we have to be tight. We all know that. But when are we going to be able to make a difference for the people?
I will just say that wraps up our nearly top 10. We've covered off 9 of the top 10. The last one, Paul, number 1, we'll jointly announce it together. It's one that you and I have railed against. There's one, it has just the mere mention of it has triggered reactions, visceral reactions in the chamber whenever there's any mention of this one. But the number one story that we are covering for this year is the fact that your property taxes, number one, your property taxes are going to be going up over 30% in this 4-year term of council, Paul. If you would have told me 4 years ago, if we would have been doing a top 10 countdown, that I would be going into an election telling voters that council, a majority of council, the Community First Council, had voted in a 30% property tax increase without a 30% increase in services, without a 30% reduction in permitting times, without a 30% increase in swimming lessons. I can go on and on. If you'd have told me that, I would have laughed. Would have laughed out of the room.
So true, Daniel. So true. So in the last, 4-year term, we're talking about 30%. Again, where are our priorities? What are we doing? What are we getting? What are the residents getting for 30%? That's the biggest question we are constantly hearing. Small businesses, the cost figures are so high. They're collecting GST, they're collecting PST, they're collecting remittance for the government. They're paying the rent. And in the rent, there's also the triple net that affects every business owner. It's a huge cost figure. A lot of the businesses are now shutting down. They are.
And you and I have heard from small business owners who have said, 30% for them, just because their pay, obviously, as you said, they pay a lot more than the 30%. And they are saying, like, our sales aren't going up, 30%. Our cost of things like minimum wage, additional sick leave time. They list a whole slew of things that additional costs that have been added onto them over the past 5 years. And they're saying, where do we get a break? Where do we get a break? And then the municipal government on top of that layers over 30% municipal property taxes. And it's a lot.
Yeah. I also want to let the people know in regards to the new 1% capital
That didn't
levy.
make the top 10, but we should add it in here for sure. It's a notable mention, I think.
Yes.
So the 1% capital levy.
So it's 30% plus the 1%. Plus the 3.5 climate levy.
Yes. So I believe, in fairness, because we're going to get a lot of mail if we don't correct this, I believe, in fairness, the 30.2% does include the 1% capital tax. I think it's included in there. But as Councillor Minhas does rightly point out, there are other taxes that have not gone down, like the 3.5% climate action tax. And the fees and the increase in fees, and there's so many things like the storage locker fees for the kids that end up getting passed down to the parents who end up having to pay those storage fees from the amateur sport associations. Those are the kind of things that really hit home for people. And that's why, Paul, that became our number one story. That was actually, although it was a bit of a toss-up between that and the up to 61% utility rate increases, it definitely won out.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Again, this is a pattern we see. It's not going away anytime soon. And, we as elected officials have to make some hard choices, hard decisions. What is right when we are taxing the people, the residents of New Westminster.
And the two things to mention on this, which may trigger a reaction, one is that this is likely, from what I can tell from the research that I've done, for a 4-year term of council, this is the highest a record property tax increase for a 4-year term of council. I don't think there's been any other 4-year term of council where this has happened. And secondly, while the final numbers haven't been added in, we're going to be on the podium, as they say, but not in a good way. We're not at the Olympics. We're not winning a gold, a silver, or a bronze medal here. We are likely going to be on that podium. It'll likely be either a silver medal or a gold medal, depending on what happens in the city of Surrey. Yeah. If they end up jacking up their taxes a little bit higher than normal, then they may take the number one spot. But we are up there, right up there in terms of this term of council with over 30%, Paul.
And I just also want to let the people know, you're absolutely right about the fact that we could be number one or we could be number two. And on top of all this, we are the second most densely populated city in all of Canada.
And that's a question that people ask us. If you're the second most densely populated, where is all that tax revenue going?
That's right.
And why are we not seeing any more pools, any more? One high school for 93,000 people that live in the city. You look at the lack of libraries. You look at the lack of community centers. You look at the lack of green space. You look at the fact that our tree canopy has dropped over the past couple of decades, down from a high of, I think, 20-some% down to 14% tree canopy. You go through all these things and you say to yourself, with all these people coming into the city paying taxes, what are we getting for the taxes?
And that's exactly, right in the sense of what are they getting? And this is something we're constantly getting emails for. Mm-hmm. People are talking to us about it, and we need to find a better way to address this.
We do, and that's it, Paul. That wraps up our top 10, the second annual top 10 for the record list. I was very proud, very pleased to do some work on this with our incredible team, our staff team. We have literally dozens of staff who work behind the scenes tirelessly to make sure that, and our good friend Philip there is behind the camera. Thank you, Philip, again for all the work you do. Year in, day out for we hire him annually for our once a year podcast. He gets contracted in. So Paul, that's it. So I think I want to just take a moment because while we won't have any more kind of official podcasts or vodcasts for the rest of the year, we may, as I said in the last podcast, we may run some of our special interviews that we had throughout the year. We may run those again as just standalone podcasts. And of course, if there's any breaking news, something super big, Paul and I are only a podcast away from getting together and doing something to report out to the community. But Paul, it's been a real pleasure to work with you on the podcast over the year. It's been great to have you in council. We're almost at Christmas and we're going to take a little break. We'll be back kind of probably mid-January sometime. And I will miss all of our listeners and our viewers who are very, very faithful and loyal and tune in and spread the word and let everyone know that we do the podcast every week.
Absolutely right, Daniel. It won't be for very long. It'll be about 2 to 3 weeks, and then we'll be definitely back in the new year. But amazing people that yourself and myself we brought in that have done the podcast, and we might be playing those. And some of those stories are great, from business owners to social workers from within the city, and as well as year went by really, really fast. My God, it just disappeared.
Been a blink. It's been a blink of an eye. And I want to say a special message to everybody who, a lot of folks have told us in 2025 they feel disheartened. They might want to move out of the city. They may want to leave. And you and I hear this far too often, which is unfortunate. The message I'd like to deliver to you is to hang tight. We are now literally a couple of weeks away from 2026. When we turn that calendar into January, we will be in an election year, and we're going to be on the downside, and we're going to be basically rolling into the last 9 months of this administration. And then you are going to have the option in 2026 to decide the future of your city, to decide the future of where the municipal government is going to go. And I'm actually pretty excited about where that's going to go, Paul.
Daniel, I'm glad you brought this up. This is something that also relates to me in the sense when you're saying people are leaving the city. And you're absolutely right. I've seen so many business owners that have left. Of course, they've shut down as well. Residents, especially in the downtown core, are moving out like crazy. But I want to share this with the people, and this is my own personal story. With the tragedy that happened at the Heritage Show, the business that I own, the live music venue, after that, I was at a crossroad in my life where I wanted to leave the city, Daniel, and I was this close to leaving. But I love the city. I've been here since I moved from after high school, since 1989, since I first moved here, and I don't want to be anywhere else. And I wanted to make sure, what can I do that will affect and make my city better? And I stepped forward, something I never thought I would do, especially to get in politics. And I tell the people out there, anybody that's thinking about moving, please hang on. 2026, October 17th is election day, and with your help, we'll make sure that NWP is in majority at the City Council.
Yeah, we're going to make change in 2026. In fact, you're going to make change in 2026.
Absolutely right.
So we've pulled together the team. We think we have an amazing team of candidates. Karima Badwani, we've got Ken Armstrong, we have Ray Porcelato, Marianne Morrison, Rick Folka. They've all joined us and put their name forward. And in 2026, we're going to be announcing 7 amazing school trustee candidates, which means that there will be a total of 14 people from the community from different neighborhoods throughout the entire city who are going to be putting their name on the ballot. And I'm going to be very proud to see those names on the ballot and to offer a very positive alternative to the current administration, who I believe are tired. They've had many kicks at the can, kind of run out of ideas, and it's time for change, and it's time for a different perspective and a new way to govern the city. And I'm excited to provide the leadership on that, because as most of our listeners and viewers know, I'm running for mayor. And so I'm excited about putting that forward. So, Paul, we've run out of time. It's amazing how quickly these things go, but I know you likely will too, but I just want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully you have an incredible time with your family. Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating over the holidays. Make sure, if you can, celebrate it with your friends and with your family. And just take a moment too, if you know someone who's by themselves, perhaps even an elder or a senior who is a shut-in, somebody who can't get out, take a moment and give them a call. Or just maybe drop by if you can and say hello. This can be a very joyous time of the year, but could also be a very sad time of the year for people who don't have family and for people who are by themselves. So please take a moment to do that.
Absolutely right, Daniel. I want to wish everybody out there very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year as well. And like you said, Daniel, as much of a happy time it is, for a lot of people, it's also a very sad time for a lot of people. Please do reach out, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors, and help each other out.
And my final little thank you, I want to thank all the staff at City Hall for everything that they do year in, year out. A lot of people don't see them, but they clean your streets. They make sure that the drains are clear of leaves. They make sure that when you need a permit, you can go into City Hall and get that. They work in our legislative services, making sure City Hall and the Chamber runs well. I can't list all the departments, but there's many of them. I just want to thank all of them as well for the incredible work that they do year in, year out. We're very fortunate, very blessed to have some incredible employees at City Hall as well. So without further ado, wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And we'll see you on the other side in the election year 2026.
Take care.
Take care.